Hello, everybody. Hi, Geezer and John and Abdul. And let's see who else we got here. Hey, Williams. Let's see what's going on. And that's something. Hey, you got here right on time. Okay, great to see y'all. Here's what I wanted to talk about today. By the way, guys, welcome everybody. I'm glad you're all here. I'm glad you're all well. Hang in there. I'm glad you all need a haircut. At least I do. Okay, let's let me explain what the hi ZL, how you doing, man? And KK Chrome, how are you? Um, the topic changed because we've been, sort of going through the steps on, finding out about all of the aspects of creating a good, high quality watch. All right, using something of the quality of Rolf Lang, whether that's possible or not. And so yesterday morning, I wrote to Rolf and asked him, told him what I had in mind, and would he be interested in selling some of his Canaletto Black, which is his sort of a more entry level movement that he uses. The movement on the watch that he gave us to pass around was his Canaletto period called Precise something, I think. Anyway, that was the one with the marine chronometer and so forth. But I thought, okay, any movement by a guy like Rolf Lang would be really a good movement. Well, I haven't heard back from him yet. And so I thought, well, rather than speculating more about that or trying to talk more about it, let's talk about something else until I hear back from him. Now, I also emailed to Wooten Lannon and Caton. I always want to say Caton and Wooten Lannon because, but it's Wooten Lannon and Caton. Haven't heard back from them either. So I thought, well, let's talk about something else, okay? So I thought it would be a hi, Dr. A and B and Dominic. How you guys doing? Some places it's morning, some places it's early morning, some places it's night, and some places it's very late night. And here they. By the way, this is a watch. I was talking about mistakes that in watch collection. I've made them, believe me. But sometimes you start off with a mistake and it ends up pretty well. Other times you just got the mistake. I think both of my major mistakes, one I avoided, the other one I didn't like the watch but hated it, this kind of thing. Hey, Watch Habit, how you doing? So hey, Lim, how are you? A Lim, is it A? Do they call you A or A Lim? I'll call you Hey Lim. Hey man. Glenn, how you doing? Okay, good. Glad you did. So so while we're waiting to hear back from Rolf Lang and Wooten Lannon and Kalen, I thought, well, let's talk about mistakes, because in learning about mistakes, you learn how to say, believe me. Well, let me talk about one of my first big mistakes. It sort of have led me on a rampage about transparency in not only transparency in selling, what I think is important, but also for the collector to learn about what's inside his watch before pulling out the whatever he buys it with, the dollars or euros or won or yen or whatever. Okay, so it's something I think that say sort of red flags that you might look for. So I'll start off with a couple of mine. Hi, Lee Todd. It's a green eggs and ham kind of morning. I wonder what that's like. Hey Blaine, how you doing? Who is he going to talk about? Who are you talking about? Are you talking about me? Is it me you're talking about, Blaine? I'm the only guy here. Hey, Clyde, how you doing? Biggest first mistake started buying before I figured out what I really value in life. That's I think that's probably a lot of people's mistakes, Clyde. How you doing, Joas? How you doing? Um, Bill Pesky. Okay. Well, anyway, so mine was I had I had read about El Ra and was just thought, wow, this is a here's a rare gem that most other collectors don't bother to find out about. And so the more I found out about it, I thought, my God, this is really neat. The original Leroy made a watch for Marie Antoinette's boyfriend, not for her, but for her to give to her boyfriend. And he hung out with Breguet and some of those guys at the time, had to hot foot it out of there during the French Revolution. Anybody who worked for royalty had to leave. So, so here's a watch company with this fantastic history. And so I thought, well, I got to get one. But then I took a look at it. I went to their, this is about, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, went to their page and then sort of followed up through boutiques and stuff to find out what they cost. They cost a fortune. They were like really expensive. And so then this guy had one that had, I think, originally been advertised for around 20,000 or something like that. It was on eBay and it was brand new and he had them. And so when I asked the guy, I said, what movement does that have? He says, I don't know. He says, somebody told me that it might be Frederick Piguet, or wasn't sure about that. It wasn't one of the Vaucheur movements, which I didn't know too much about at the time anyway. And it wasn't an in-house El Leroy. The guy selling it to me said he didn't know. Okay. So he had the thing, had it on auction. So I thought, well, I'll lowball it just to see what happens. Well, I lowballed it and won. And by lowballing, this was based on the MSRP. And I lowballed it for less than half and won it. Oh, I thought, oh, crap. What have I done? So the thing arrived and it was beyond beautiful. Still one of the most beautiful watches I have ever owned. You had this great big hunk. I think it was yellow gold, just big hunk of it. Didn't waste it. And even the back was solid gold. Really fantastic Guy Lochet on the dial, blued hands. Just one of the prettiest watches I've ever had. Okay. So I was pretty happy about it. So I wanted to find out about the movement still. So I got a hold of I got a hold of El Leroy in Switzerland. I called them, I talked to him, and I said, "What's the movement in this thing?" Now this is a watch that came out in 2001, and this was like when I was asking, it was around 2015, 16, somewhere in that neighborhood. And the guy said, "Well, they didn't know. They're management." So I thought, what figures? What does management know about what's inside their own watches that they're selling? So I took it up to my friend up in Massachusetts, who was at the time, he was one of the judges of the Grand Prix. And he looked at it and immediately said, that's an ETA 7001. I mean, he just looked at it and could tell. And even though it had the El Leroy, all of their scribbling all over the back of the movement. And so the more I looked at it, the more I realized that's exactly what it was. I said, well, maybe that was used as a base and they did something to it. And so he looks at it again and says, no, sorry. So he put the watch back together for me. He said, as consolation, he said the 7001 is one of the better movements that ETA has. A little wind-up movement. The thing looked like like sort of a single bean in a coffee can. You had this little bitty movement, and you had this big, gorgeous hunk of gold for a dial for it. So I really thought, what weren't you telling me the truth for? I mean, what's wrong with you guys? And so this is what has led my, because, I paid a lot of money. Now, less than half of what the MSRP doesn't mean it's not a lot of money. So, why are they doing this? So the thing is, though, I learned a great deal from that mistake. And it was one of those watches. It was a love hate thing. Loved the watch, hated the watch, the whole thing. And so, this is one thing my lesson was: find out at all costs what is in your watch. So that was my first mistake and my first lesson. Okay, how about yours? Let me see what you got here. Hi, Grego Urban. How you doing, man? Let's see. Who else is here? I haven't greeted yet. Paul. Hi, Paul. How you doing, man? Let's see. Lee Clive. Okay. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Yeah, poor old Kenny is gone now. Do you like the Patek 6006? Describe it for me, geezer. I don't know what a 6006 is. I think my first watch mistake was buying a new Tag Heuer F1, new big F1 fan. I also bought some watches like Squally and Breitling that I regretted immediately and sold with a loss. Uh, what's wrong? Maybe that they're Swiss something. See, biggest mistake in watch collecting I see people making is listening to fake YouTube watch gurus who have no horological knowledge at all. Yeah. This is a problem. Some of my best and worst advice has come not necessarily from gurus, but from guys like you. Someone said, "Hey, this is what I found out about. I went into it, looked about it, and found out about it." And I think that's really helpful. What the people that just drive me nuts are these blowhards. They either have a little bit of information or none at all, and they figure is that the louder they shout and the more bigger jerks that they are, that people are going to believe them, and some do. So that is, and we all know who the I don't know. I guess it takes a while before you learn who is a jerk and who isn't, as far as YouTube gurus are concerned. Way back when I first started, one of the few and one that was most entertaining was Archie, and Archie sort of something happened. Anyway, Brian, yeah, the honeymoon was over before it began. Oh my God, I was thinking of that. This is something. Let's say that during this whole quarantine thing, a couple gets married and their honeymoon is they're going to take a cruise. So they're confined to their cabins. To me, that is sort of the entire story of a marriage wrapped up in one ball. Great love, initial closeness, too much closeness, divorce, boom, all mixed into one thing. I don't know. That's weird. Okay, my biggest mistakes were from selling watches that I love to raise cash for something that didn't pan out. Hey, KK Chrome, that would be another one. I mean, it's like you have a really nice watch that you like and say, "Oh, I need some money, so I better get rid of this one." Maybe the one you got rid of shouldn't have gotten rid of it. Sometimes this is a funny thing. I had my much loved overseas, in order to get a present for my wife for our anniversary. We had, I forgot which one it was. Anyway, it was a big one though, and I got this great watch for her, but it cost me a watch that I really liked. Now another time, and let me tell you another big mistake I made was that I got a Audemars Piguet, because it had a moon phase. It had some other gizmos on there too, but it had a little bitty dial. I think that's important. I think if you get the wrong dial size for your wrist, that can be a problem. So that's and it was a perfect watch. That's one thing I'll say for it. That my experience with Audemars Piguet, that thing kept beautiful time. It set easily, but it was just one I didn't wear. I ended up trading it in, and of course I lost money on it, but not all of it. And I was able to get a watch I really really liked, so that worked out. But Clyde's point, or actually it was KK Chrome's point, I guess, is saying the biggest mistake was grabbing a watch. You see something you really like, you don't know where you can get it, is trade something in. Modern update on the crisis on the cruise ship was infected with COVID-19 and they both died. The end. They all right. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that. Hi, Millie. How you doing? I'm still in my collecting intimacy. No major mistakes to report yet. You know, the thing is that if I had listened to the right people, I wouldn't have made those mistakes. The trouble is that I didn't. There nobody had ever said much about that, or they didn't know, or they didn't care, and so I'm. You can. This is one of the reasons I thought it'd be a good idea to have this kind of discussion, because we can learn from each other what mistakes not to make. Okay, hi Gilberto, how you doing? Better late than never. Hee hee hee. Hey Gilberto. Gee, let's see. Okay, John. Another mistake is listening to groupthink instead of yourself making a decision. Yeah, that's a good point. There's certain tribes. I belong to several, and you got to get one of these. It's got to be a Patek Philippe. Oh, Patek Philippe's are great watches, I think. Oh, it's got to be a Rolex. Well, Rolex are great watches too, but it's a great big pond, and like Clyde's point is a good one, is that you better find out what you like for yourself. This is the watch that was sort of a half a lesson. This is a Harry Winston Premier by Retrograde. Okay, well, this was after my what I'll call my El Laurent disaster. Um, there was this guy, and I mentioned this before. There was this guy in another country. I won't mention a country because it's a country I really like. Not that, but this guy, I don't think he wasn't much of a watch collector, but he had one of these in white gold. And I went around and we made a deal and everything like that. And this is the guy that had told me, "Oh, okay, here's what to do: hire a courier, have the courier come to my office, and have the courier FedEx it to you." I said, "Wait a minute." He said, "Well, the way it's traditionally done is that the buyer pays for the shipment," which isn't true, of course. And so, when the guy said that, I thought, you know, if this guy isn't even willing to take a watch down to FedEx and send it to me, something's wrong here. Either the guy is, I don't know. I just sort of like, so I told him to forget about it. And, but I still wanted a watch like this because I really liked it. I'd spent all this time finding out about it. So I found one not far from here. It's over in this dealer in New Jersey who also happened to be a Harry Winston AD. And so I said, I told him about the deal I'd made. And I said, "Well, it fell through. You got a pre-owned one like that, that's close to that price." I said, "How close can you come to it?" And boy, he did. He dropped it a couple $1,000s, gave me a great buy, and I've been happy as a clam at high tide with my Harry Winston. Hi, Harry. Anyway, those kinds of things. Now, what I had learned from my other mistakes was that this had a Girard-Perregaux movement. No, I did that. I contacted this guy at Girard-Perregaux. He dug up the original diagram for me, showing me that indeed it was a Girard-Perregaux movement. And then I wrote to Agenhor, and I said, "Could you tell me something about these by retrogrades?" I heard, I didn't know for sure, but I had heard that you guys had done it. I got this really neat email back from, I think it's from one of Vita Rex's sons, and it was really a cool one. Sent me a picture of it and everything else. Now, the reason that I think I got a good deal wasn't because I'm so smart, but rather because I did the research. You don't have to be smart to find out about stuff. You just have to go find out about it. So that I think is, again, that first lesson was such a huge one for me. All right, what else you got here? Too many people put idiotic conditions on their collecting as well. Oh, yeah, that's a great point in as something. Hey, Mark, the yeah, I know that. In essence, I know what you're talking about. It says, well, you know, it's got to have X amount of waterproofness. Well, do you take it swimming? No, I don't. Well, where are you going to find like 15 fathoms of water if you don't go swimming or diving or something? I don't know. You're right though. There are other kind of conditions. It's got to have this. It's got to have that. To me, the most interesting, fun part is finding a watch that has something you really don't expect. This is my best example of that. A retrograde. I wasn't even thinking about a retrograde, let alone a bi-retrograde. But watching the seconds. Have you ever seen the seconds on this thing? They have retrograde seconds. So if you want to get your kicks looking at retrograde, let me see if you can see it. That thing goes plink plink. It's sort of hard here. Okay, it's on this side right here. Now, what's that retrograde hand? Okay, can you see it? It sort of has a little gold. Now, watch that sucker. It's going down to the bottom. Bam, back to the top. It does that every 30 seconds. And, my other retrogrades, I don't know, maybe you got a 30-day calendar once a month that goes bump back to one again. I don't know, but things like that are sort of fun. Also, I got this another thing that's sort of interesting about this watch I haven't seen before. It's got a pusher up here at it would be 1 o'clock, about 1 or 2 o'clock. And what it does, it resets the day of the week. And so if you get turned around on a day of the week, when on a day date, sometimes getting the day and the day of the month and everything lined up just right. My little Seiko 5 does that beautifully. You just turn it one way and it'll have the date, and then you turn it the other way, it'll have the name of the month. Just little cool things like that. Okay, what else? Hi, Jeffrey Blue. John, tell her that you were hit with corona. Let's see. Okay, you guys got your own world over here. I'll just talk to myself. I'm having a good time. Let's see, Joas. Yes, but people that go into the watch collecting hobby are mostly influenced also by the investment part. To me, that's a mistake, Joas. I think if you go into watch collection as that's a mistake. I just think that as an investment. I had a friend who used to invest in movies. They'd produce movies, and there used to be a really good tax thing because one of the few imports we had, the U.S., the United States had, was movies. And so what the government did is that, they were making, there was so much trade going on because of movies, of American movies being bought overseas, that they had a big tax break. And so it was like, if you lost money, it worked out somehow. So he always invested in movies, and it was a bust. I don't know. He probably lost his shirt. It was something like The Producers. It was a big hit. Could do that. Only, yeah, live near Route 66. There's another name for that. I can't think of it. They call it Tornado Alley. That was it. At least the part that goes through Oklahoma. Let's see. What do you got here? Okay. Yeah, Blaine. I thought the same thing. Blaine said that it looked like this kind of complication. The second retrograde, or the half-minute retrograde, would be subject to a lot of wear and tear. I agree, but it hasn't been, and it's like the most entertaining thing I have. Look at that. I'm easily amused. All right, being more interested in a deal or bargain than the watch itself. Good point, Clyde. Yeah, this is, what's really important is, I mean, if there's a really great deal and you get a piece of junk, that's not going to make you happy. On the other hand, if you get a really good deal and you get a really good watch, I think that's what we all want, really. Uh, Never understood people buying what other people have. I can only buy a watch I truly love because of a particular watch. Yeah, I Williams watches. That's a good point. I'm learning something just by listening. I don't buy for investment. I buy because I like to watch. Yeah. See, the thing is that your own pleasure is the payoff. If people say, "Well, I bought this. I got exactly back what I paid for it, or even better, I got more." But I never used a watch. It stayed in my case. I, you know, and then, but they're very quiet about the fact that they bought something with a premium, and then 2 months later the bottom dropped out and nobody liked it anymore, and he couldn't sell it or give it away, and they weren't using it. It's now tornado and earthquake alley. Oh, that's right, you diversified. I remember that. um what is that called, flacking or hacking? To go into and blow up all the underground aquifer. Oh, yeah. Fracking, that's it. they they have, and these guys, oh, it doesn't hurt anything, and they're sitting there going, earthquake. Oh, let's see. The Moser was a great price. My wife cost me much more. Yeah. It's what's more expensive, a watch or the price of a divorce attorney? Let me think. Let's see. The best way to lose money is to flip watches. Don't buy unless you intend keeping a watch. Yeah, Clyde Mills. That's another good point. I don't know. Yeah, it goes back to the best way to make a little money in the watch business is to start with a lot. Hey, Jason Panagolis, what's your opinion of the Tissot quartz? Well, Jason, I don't know that much about quartz because I collect mechanical watches, and I don't include quartz in that. Let's see. I love good deal. Always looking for the best value. That is different value retention. Yeah, watch habits. There's something else. This is what gets me. you know, Someone says, "Oh, you're going to lose a lot of money on that watch." How? The only way to lose money is that if you buy it as an investment. But a lot of times, let's say the prices of Parmigiani, the prices of H. Moser from their earlier ones, which are really great movements, the price is really much lower. So let's say that they pay, oh, $7,000 for a really nice Moser Endeavor. Okay, like an Endeavor Small Seconds or something like that. How can you lose? It's not going to go much lower than that because you're dealing with like a $20,000 watch, and it's already it hasn't lost its value. It's lost the MSRP price. That's all it's lost, and people don't seem to understand that. It's like, well, if I get one of those, I'm going to lose money. Not if you have a good time with a watch or not. You're not going to lose a nickel. Okay, I think are some investment grade watches, but those are unattainable for 99.99% of us. Geezer, yeah, that's true. I mean, you're talking about these really expensive watches, but you can also, just bump into a watch that you really like, and it would be, just be a wonderful. You could have a wonderful watch, and then all of a sudden it takes off. I've had that happen, but I don't care because it can go up. My FP Joint Resonance is heading north of 60,000. Not it just I paid less than a fraction of that for it, but I don't care because I'm not going to trade it in. I'm not going to sell it because I like it too much. I got it because I liked it, and the whole notion of a resonance is so interesting to me, and so I still. How can you lose on something like that? It says, "Well, you could sell it and get all of this." But then I wouldn't have the watch I like. Watch habits probably because recent models not having a full set of generally tells you something about the owner watch. Okay, think most people are, yeah, right, investment grade. Hey, Gilberto, when people buy for investment, it seems they get tired of it. Yeah, that's a good point. It's sort of like wearing hey, I bought this stock, I'll put it on my wrist. It's pretty boring. Let's see. I still own several quartz watches and do still think they're cool. Joe asks, I have a quartz watch too, but they're not part of my collection. I don't buy them for my collection. The one I have, a friend gave me years ago, and it means a lot because of my friend. So, but it's not something in terms of that I see as, because I don't, you don't have the mystery of how a single spring drives the whole watch. To me, that's what's important. I think the whole point of the hobby is to end up with pieces that you love so much that the value is irrelevant. I agree. Couldn't have put it better, Clyde. That was perfect. I have so much fun with my vintage watches that some I got for like 50 quid, and wear it open, regulate it, and clean it. Yeah, those are great watches to have. You have a little watch, it's never quite right, and so you open up the back and you tickle the regulator and put it back together again. It's great, and then it goes out again. It gives you something to have fun with. Let's see. Enjoy your watches and wear them all. There you go. That's what I'm for. Good morning, Mark. Let's see. You lose a lot of the fun and rule out many good watches if you look at them from financial perspectives. Yeah, the only thing that hits you financially is if you can't afford it, and that's another thing too. Man, like, oh, let's see, if I don't pay the mortgage for 2 years and I don't do this, I can get that watch. That's sort of crazy thinking. Um, if one other thing I wanted to mention real quickly, because time's about up. The whole idea of people getting jealous about other people's collection. Here are a couple things I think to keep in mind. First of all, I don't think I've ever been jealous of anybody's collection, but instead, it's a really great opportunities to learn. In doing these collection reviews, I get to see all kinds of cool watches I never even knew about. And so it's something that is, no matter how rich you are, no matter what, you're always going to find somebody who's got a better collection than you have. To me, that not a cause for jealousy. It's a cause for, hey, wow, look at this guy, and look at these cool watches he has. And the other thing I learned from collection review is how not to spend a crazy amount of money and just get a fabulous watch. A watch that I never paid much attention to, that I really like, and I didn't think I would, is the Excalibur by Roger Dubuis. That watch, once I looked at it closely, what I thought were sort of almost near random indexes were in fact these very stylized Roman numerals, giving the watch this wonderful, sort of almost a 1950s modernistic look, but not. And then it had a small seconds, I think, at 9 o'clock. And the more I looked at that, this is a really good watch. Then I went and found out about the movement. It's got a cool movement in it, and now I put that on my radar. And so it's, that's one thing that I learned early on. Well, I've sort of been that way. Is that the someone will always have something better, and it doesn't matter. It's something. What's important is to have something that's interesting to you, or just interesting in general, that you can afford, that works for you. Lim, where's Lim? It went sort of scroll off. I want to say one more thing about. He asked about, what do you think about spring drive? I've got nothing against spring drives, which are basically spring-driven quartz watches, which is fine. I've got nothing against one that uses solar, a battery, anything. Quartz watches are fine, just not the watches I'm interested in collecting. That's my thing with quartz watches. Not bad. In fact, they're far more accurate than anything I'll ever have in terms of a mechanical watch. But that's not the point. The point to me has always been how the spring going down through the gear train and working with the escapement produces this interesting time and what is involved in it. And that's what makes it interesting. Nothing against quartz, though, my God. But if I want accurate time, got my iPhone. Bip, that's how I set all my watches anyway. Ah, okay. Roger Dubritis. Sorry. Uh, you forgot having no friends. Let's see. Don't be jealous of other people's collection. So we are basically just enumerating. So we're just basically enumerating every single A3C character. Okay. All right, guys. Listen, we have I'm waiting to hear back on the emails that I had to both to Rolf Lang and to Voutilanen and Keynes. Okay, when I get those back, then we can talk more about where that's going. In the meantime, I thought, well, let's talk about something else today. So that's what we did. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, and if you're around this afternoon, I'll see you then.